With Garnishment Management, the system allows you to configure, as usual, the sequencing and numbering of the different steps and activities. You'll have the ability to link it to payroll, to predefined payees that are already in the system. You can define a minimum wage to use to cap the garnishment per pay period. Of course, as we know, garnishments, which are deductions that are withheld from an employee's pay, usually as a result of a court order or some other instruction from the government or another authority. These types of things are governed by local regulations and laws. Especially in the US, there'll be state-specific rules about garnishments. So these rules can be preloaded already. You don't have to configure any of that. What we're just showing you is the flexibility, because our products are global in design, and therefore you can use these in different situations. Okay, so you've got your garnishment general setup. You can also set up rules that are at the employee group level. Then you will go and define the garnishment classification. This really depends on the country in which you're operating. If you're in the US, you don't have to worry about this. This stuff is predefined. If you're in other countries, there may be unique cases that don't exist out of the box, and therefore you have the flexibility to create those. You create your own classification, your own types. Here you see different types. For example, unpaid federal tax. Where does the order typically come from? What is the processing sequence? Is it there could be priority for this one over other garnishments? Is there a maximum payment or deduction per pay period that we need to keep in mind? Is there a cap for minimum wage or a factor that we need to consider? So as you can see, we can pretty much define the different rules, and you could define different garnishments for different states, and as a result you end up with a very unique behavior for in every state. The garnishment rules can differ. As I said, this will be preloaded in the US, whereas in other countries you have the ability to configure as you require. Now, how does the process start? So it starts with Garnishment Orders, which you enter, and after that everything gets processed automatically. So as an example, we're going to enter a garnishment order for Jane Fallon, one of our employees. This is entered by somebody in HR typically, or in finance. This is going to be for unpaid federal taxes. Now I filled in some information about this particular court order that we got. You see that I can still look at unique rules. I have put in that this is a court order for a garnishing of $5,000 done in individual amounts of $500 each over a 10-month period, and this is a monthly payroll that we're dealing with, and the effective date is 1st of May. You notice I'm using an international date format because this presentation is for an international audience right now, and the stop date is end of February 2018. Now we'll proceed with this. All I need to do is add the court order in the system under Garnishment Orders, and then we proceed with a approval. Usually it'll go through a process and it'll be sent to the right people for approval. In my case, I'm approving it right here. I have the authority to do so. Now, next step is we initialize the payroll for Jane Fallon. As we run the payroll for any of our employees, we will initialize always. Of course, I could run the whole payroll for the whole company right now, but I just want to show you this particular case. So you notice that there is now a deduction that's been added under Jane Fallon's record. We will find out in a second which one that is. Because when we go and run our automatic timesheet, and we will filter straight away for Jane. And we generate this automatic timesheet. The timesheet in Interact is there to combine the pay policies with the hours for which the employee is getting paid, so that you can see how much they're supposed to get paid. You'll find out now that under deductions there is a garnishment deduction of $500 that's been added. Now What else are we going to do? We're going to finalize this real quick and then show you the record. And we'll proceed straight away to the final payroll for Jane for the month of May. So for Jane, we will run the May payroll and finalize it. And in fact, we're going to do the same thing for June, but we will skip a few steps to speed up the process for the viewer. Now, when we run the payroll in June, the initialization doesn't show any such deduction. Why? Because there is no new deduction to be added to the employee. That was already added in May, and it will continue to stay on the employee record for the next 10 months. So we can proceed quickly with running the automatic timesheet. Let's check one more time that Jane's garnishments have indeed been recorded. And you see the $500 is still there. So what does that mean? That means if we go look at the garnishment record now, which is available to the employee also to consult, we will find that for Jane Fallon, the system is showing that there is a total amount that needs to be garnished, which is $5,000. In May, you took $500, which means the balance is $4,500. In June, we have also taken $500, which means now the balance is $4,000. So like this, the system will continue to record, and you'll have a clear record. As you noticed, again, there was no intervention required from payroll. Whoever is the one that is authorized to enter the garnishment record, once that gets approved, it automatically starts deducting from the payroll, and it applies the appropriate state rules about garnishments in your particular jurisdiction. That's how Interact works. And the reason why you have the configuration capabilities is because the system can be used outside the US and other markets too, where garnishments might work in a different manner.